Well, regardless of where you are in the world, the coach that you have, the structure of training that you use for the distance that you're training for, there's a very good chance that you and I share one thing in common with the way that we train. That is that our weekly long run or thereabouts is a really important and regular part of our training routine. Now, obviously, it comes with perks. We know about the cardiovascular benefits to us that we get through accessing the long runs. We understand that it helps us become more resilient, stronger, more efficient, getting used to the actual feeling of being out there for a long period of time. But despite these things, a lot of us don't pay too much attention to how to actually get the most out of our weekly long run. And today, I wanted to share a few ideas to help you, regardless of the level of competition you're at, your fitness level, or the distance that you're running, to get the most out of your weekly long run. Now, before we get into that, I wanted to let you know that the Relaxed Running membership has recently been launched. So if you're a fan of us here at Relaxed Running, make sure you check it out. It's in the description to this video. You'll get access to a whole heap of bonus features, including our members-only podcast, and you'll get access to the discounts with the top-tier running brands that we're partnered with. There's so much more involved in the membership. If you want to find out more, hit the link below. But for now, let's talk about some ways that you can get some benefits out of your weekly long run routine. Now, there's a very good chance that you and I are training for completely different events. So one of the big questions that is raised each and every time someone speaks about the Sunday long run is, well, how far should I actually be running? Because the truth is, a marathon runner is not necessarily going to have the same routine as what a 1500 or a 5K runner will have, though they'll still have this long run scheduled into most of their training weeks. A really good rule of thumb for coming up with how far you should be running each and every long run is Jack Daniel's guide of 20 to 25% of your weekly volume is done on this 1 day a week. So just for the sake of easy numbers, if you're doing 100 kilometers a week, you're going to be doing around 25 Ks a week on your weekly long run. Now, obviously, depending on where you're at fitness-wise, the event that you're training for, and what part of the build-up you're actually in is going to dictate how this distance is actually structured. But we'll talk about more of that in just a moment. More than that, you want to figure out what your target race is. This ties on beautifully from the first point, because obviously 5K marathon runners are going to be doing very different things in terms of build-up, in terms of distance of long run, and in terms of taper. So clarify before you even start thinking about how far you should be running your long runs. What is it that you're actually aiming for? What is your big goal race? If you don't have this picked out yet, it's going to be very difficult to structure your training week accurately in terms of being able to effectively tick off the required elements of training for the event. Once you've got that in place, the third step you're going to want to take into consideration is a gradual increase in the distance. This is one thing that distance runners, for the most part, completely suck at. We get emotional, we get excited, we get passionate about seeing progress in some form, whether it's distance or pace in our training week. And as a result, many of us rush the build up too quickly. I would really encourage you to take the advice of Gordo Byrne and consider trying to do the current training routine that you're doing now for 10 weeks without getting injured. If you're doing 10 kilometers each Sunday and a total of 50 kilometers for the week, and you've done that for 10 weeks in a row and you haven't been injured, perhaps then you can start thinking about increasing the distance of either a midweek run or a Sunday long run. If you've got questions about that, feel free to ask me in the comments below. Don't make the common mistake that many athletes make of going, you know what, I'm just going to gradually increase my long run by 10% each week. That's an increase of 50% in 5 weeks, and your body hasn't had the opportunity to really absorb the training benefits yet. Don't throw too much on yourself too quickly. If you've been able to gradually build up, or you've already got the confidence and the injury history that suggests you can handle more than what you're doing, sure, consider building it up then. But go into your 12 or 16 week build up, whatever it is that you've structured towards the specific lead up to your goal race, with confidence that your body can gradually increase the distance from there. Now, depending on what distance you're training for is going to dictate exactly how far you should be building up that long run. But the main concern or main priority should be make sure you're not adding too much too quick. A 10-week block of uninjured running on the training program that you're currently on is a really good guide before you start making dramatic changes to the rest of the training volumes, intensities, or structures that you already have in place. The next thing we want to talk about is pacing. How fast should these runs be? These long runs generally, unless you're training for something specifically or an elite athlete trying to get more out of your body, you're going to keep these at a heart rate zone 2. If you're running at a pace that you can't have a fairly comfortable conversation with whoever you're running with, bring the pace back. The idea of this run is not to absolutely smash yourself. Your main goal is to get through this injury-free so you can consistently lay down week after week after week of long, slow distance. This area has become a real topic of fascination and a real trending topic recently because people are starting to realize that if you can tie up some longer, slower runs week after week, the benefits that you gain from that aerobically are so much greater than trying to lay down a high level of volume and a high level of intensity in a short period of time and then having to sit out with injury or niggles or illness. Take your time with the distance. Run at a pace that you feel embarrassed to be running at and then slow it down even more. The next thing you want to do is figure out how to fuel and hydrate effectively. You don't want to be going into these runs feeling as though you're super thirsty or you haven't drank enough water or you haven't got enough fuel in the system. Figure out what it is that you feel most effectively fueled on, whether it's a pasta or a rice, a meal the night before, the morning snack. Find out what it is that feels best for you so that when you go out there, you're not having to wrestle with this feeling of hunger and fatigue too early in the run. After that, you want to make sure that whatever day you do your long run on, that you're giving yourself a chance to recover. Make sure when you get home, you fill up with some high carb foods. Make yourself a smoothie, get yourself a meal. A lot of the time we don't feel as though we want to eat after a run, but if you can come up with a really nutritious, really healthy, really carb-fueled meal after this run, it's going to be a great step towards helping you recover. If you've got anything specifically that's helped your long run improve, please link it in the comments below. But for now, happy training, and hopefully I'll see you on the inside of the Relax Running membership.